You're embarrassing me. Yeah.
But then apparently she got wasted.
Yeah. White girl wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He makes everything stronger.
Exactly.
His tomato paste, vodka. His crawdads, vodka. What's in this Cheerios? You know.
Cheerios.
Oh, I was not ready.
From fabulous
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Nevada.
This is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, real questions. Ask
And
anonymously at
therapists.
podtherapy.net and email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah. All right, that's all we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's
and
all.
now, broadcasting from the churn, that guy's Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
So you might be thinking, man, what goes on the Patreon? I'll bet it's going to be all Super Bowl stuff. We didn't even talk about the Super Bowl. We're proud of us. No sports references. Talked about Super Bowl parties. That was
Yes.
Yeah,
fun.
that was it.
And also an announcement that we brought onto Patreon that we definitely want to make in the main show. So if you've ever thought, man, I like this podcast. I'm part of this podcast community. The people who listen to this are good people. I like interacting with them online. And I would love to be a part of something real life. There is a real life event that Nick and I are going to, and Jacob, that you can come hang out with us at. It is called Scoop Fest.
Jim and I just came up with that name.
Something that we've been working on for a long time.
yeah.
And so, we rented out the Orleans Hotel and Casino and also got another podcast to host an entire extravaganza. So Jacob's 1/3 of Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social podcast. A lot of our listeners listen to that. Some don't. But they host a usually annual huge festival here in Las Vegas. They're hosting it again this year, end of April. You can go to scoopfest.com. You can get all the information. There are discounts for the hotels available. Go to patreon.com/therapy. Throw a buck into the hat. Jacob will read to you all the codes and everything you need. It's all on our Patreon. But if you've ever thought, man, I'd like to come hang out with Nick and Jim and Jacob and get to know these guys in person, we're going to be there. And so Nick and I are going to be there that whole week. Jacob will be there. And it's a great opportunity to just kick it with us. We're going to be at a hotel here in Las Vegas, make friends, meet other people who listen to the show, meet wonderful human beings who listen to their podcast and ours, world-class entertainment, all for a very fair price. And just a chance to kind of do something out in the world. If this podcast and other podcasts like Matt Manning's Ice Cream Social made the difference for you during the pandemic, and you're ready to kind of get out there and meet these people that you've been spending so much virtual time with all these months, come hang out with us, man. End of April. Yeah. So check it out, scoopfest.com. All the information is available there. Nick and I will be there. And so whether or not you're part of a listener to Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social, you're one of ours, and we'll be there. And a bunch of other podcasts and a bunch of our folks are going to be there too. There's tons of Therapals and Theropods. That is definitely a universe that we get to swim in, that hangs out with us. So be a fun time. And you can dress like my Bat Mom during the Jock and Nerd Ball if you want.
There we go.
You really don't have to, though. But if you do come, make sure you go to podtherapybaitshop.com and get your merch. Got to get your merch so you can represent all your favorite podcasts, including ours. And also ours.
It's the only merch you're going to find on our...
That's right. Well, you can get the Life Coach Jacob shirt. That's pretty cool.
There you go.
That's still a bestseller, I think. There's a lot of people that are going to wear that for his podcast, I think. Great questions today. Excited to kick this one off. First one comes from Dr. Vinny. Man, our colleague up in Philly. I want to say Vinny's up in Philly. And Vinny's been a long-term friend of the show. During the beginning of the pandemic, during the lockdown, we hosted a Zoom support group that we were doing a couple weeks in a row for listeners of the show just to get people through the lockdown. Dr. Vinny was crucial for that. It really helped us have just another therapist in the room to help lead, and so really became a buddy of ours. And he did some great research. I never told you guys about this. I should have told you guys about this a while ago. Vinny wrote in to Pod Therapy and said, hey guys, my doctoral thesis is coming up, and I'm doing a research project on atheists in the military and their access to mental health care, despite not being part of the religious vibe that is often a big part of mental health in the military. It's one of the only support services religious. So he reached out to us and said, could you guys funnel people who you know that are in the military who are atheists to be a part of my research? So we put out to all of our fans how to get into his research. Those fans then reposted that inside of Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social podcast universe. Tons of military members in atheism flocked into the research. Vinny published his research.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, nice.
In his scholarly research, which is now at his university, is published in the literature. It's being submitted to scientific journals. He specifically thanks Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social podcast
Nice.
and
Oh,
Pod
shit.
Therapy. Yes. And so we are
Ah.
now 2 podcasts that are a part of psychology research indefinitely,
As it should
as
be.
it always should have been. So that's super cool.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, we love Vinny. So Vinny, glad that your research came through. Congratulations, doctor, on your minted new degree. And exciting stuff for you, man. And glad that we could help you out. And thanks to all the listeners that participated in Vinny's research. You made a difference and gave him some really good quality information. So Vinny writes in, and his question is, how to build a private practice. Hey guys, hello from your favorite licensed professional counselor, formerly in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Oh, cool, he moved. First, let me thank you both, and a warm extension to Jacob, for reading my dissertation recruitment on the air. 4 of the 6 participants that my methodology called for came from Pod Therapy and or Scoop communities.
Nice.
Both Pod Therapy and ICS earned a thank you in my acknowledgement section. If any of you are interested, and I don't blame you in the least if you don't care, the title is, How Do Atheist Active Duty Military Members Exhibit Resilience? I could send you the PDF, which he has, by the way. I have a copy of it. I'll send it to both of you
send it
guys.
to me.
I could send you the PDF, as I don't think my university's library is accessible to outsiders. I successfully defended my dissertation in July of 2021, and I am now in my internship year at Buffalo, New York, in the VA, the Veterans Administration, working with veterans who struggle with PTSD. Awesome, Vinny. It's great news, man. Now to my question. This is more of a question for Jim. Happy belated birthday, Jim. Thank you, Vinny. Since I am nearing
You had a
the
birthday
end,
recently?
I did. We don't talk about it enough.
Didn't
on the
come
show.
up.
It was eclipsed by yours and Christ's, but whatever. Since I'm nearing the end of my doctoral journey, and I'm already licensed at the master's level, I wanted to ask if you had any pointers or tips and tricks on how to get a private practice off the ground. Any information or ideas would be greatly appreciated. Your Instagram talk on the issues with the counseling field regarding our extensive training and lack of monetary parity with other healthcare professions preached to my choir. I've wrestled with going into private practice versus working at the Veterans Administration healthcare system for a long time. After working in the VA system since July, I'm becoming less enthused with the red tape and bureaucracy that happens behind the scenes. I think I would be much more valuable to our veterans in the private sector. I imagine I can't be the only trainee or licensed professional who listens to Pod Therapy, so I thought this might be an interesting question. Thanks for all you guys do, Vinny.
Okay. So I don't think Jacob and I are needed, so we're just going to step out.
You
Just,
can.
Have some cake.
Go have
yeah.
some cake and all
yeah,
right.
just yell when you need us.
That's fine. I think you guys can weigh in a little bit. I mean, you know, you've been on all sides of the street here, you know, agency work, whatever. All
Okay.
right,
Well,
answer the
I'll
question.
jump in when you get something wrong.
All right, that's fair enough. All right. So, couple of things.
Wrong.
Yeah. On
There's more than a couple.
Thanks, guys.
More than a couple. You're wrong.
We're off to a running start. All right, so on our
Wrong. We're walking.
This is it.
We're sitting.
All right, second strike, I guess. All right, so on our Instagram, Instagram I think is at PodTherapyGuys. For a while,
Correct.
I started getting really busy again, so I didn't
Credit
have
where
time
credit
to do
is
it.
due.
Yeah, it does exist. He got one fact. I was posting some deep dives on there for a while, but then I got busy and I really didn't have that time anymore. Did deep dives on seasonal affective disorder. Did deep dives on why people in the military often cannot access mental health care, and got into the weeds of the actual top secret clearance forms that they have to fill out and exactly how the red tape stops them from getting care. But I also did a deep dive that I called The Scandal of the Mental Health Care Profession. And it's a big, long talk. It's an hour-long talk. You can check it out if you feel so inclined. It was also posted on our Patreon, just the audio version, and so the patrons have heard it at length, and they also get access to all of my notes when I do deep dives. I provide all of my resources and citations and notes. But I basically did a deep dive, and this is what Vinny's referencing, called The Scandal of the Mental Health Profession. And essentially what my case was, I was saying the scandal of the mental health profession, and I'm being a little cheeky with this, but stay with me, is that there is no mental health profession. That's the scandal. Every other form of healthcare, there's a profession to it. Like nursing, we would consider that a profession. Being a surgeon, we would consider that a profession. And my argument was, it's not a profession, and the reason why is because of all the broken systems that exist. And in the talk, I kind of detail how you become a therapist, exactly what you have to do, exactly what it costs in time and treasure. And I explain that at the end of that journey, the compensation system is very broken, and it's broken for many, many reasons. I talk about it in the lecture, but the punchline is it's broken. And the brokenness of that basically has resulted in a world in which there are not enough therapists doing therapy. And the reason for that is because they can't pay their bills, and it's very hard for therapists to create a living for themselves. The average the average salary of an American therapist is $50,000. That's after 8 years of schooling and an additional 3 years of postgraduate apprenticeship for them to earn the right to do this for a living. The average starting salary for a nurse who went to get a bachelor's of nursing for 4 years. Yeah. For what?
8 years of schooling?
So
I didn't have 8 years of schooling.
4-year bachelor's degree.
Correct.
Plus 3 years of a master's degree. So 7. And then 3
I had
years.
2 years of master's.
Okay. So, well, yeah, the average, so a clinical master's is considered 66 credits. If you break it down in what is the recommended format for taking it, it's 3 academic years if you're not taking, or even with summers. So go listen to the talk. It's actually very detailed. I think you'll like it. But anyway, the punchline of the talk was the average American nurse starts off making $80,000, and they had a bachelor's degree, and they got into the game immediately, started earning money in year 1. So anyway, Vinny's referencing that. It's a deep dive talk. If you want to learn a lot about why you can't find a therapist, whenever you're like, gosh, can't find one, or they're so expensive out of pocket, why don't they take insurance? I answer all those questions in that talk. And this is also the reason why my New Year's goal for this year is to build something else. I want to build basically a mental health club that can fill that space between reading a self-help book or listening to a podcast and getting into individual, weekly therapy. So I'm trying to build that. So, all right, that's the background for the question. So Vinny asks, how do you build a private practice? So there's a lot of professionals that listen to the show, and Vinny, I'm going to try to give you some straight advice. So I'm in private practice, Vinny. I've been in private practice full-time since 2018. Before that, I had a private practice on the side. I would sub-rent other therapists' offices, and I would rent their offices at nighttime, or I'd rent their offices on the weekends. And then I primarily worked in rehabs. That was my salaried position. That's how I paid my bills. And then I did side work as a therapist individually on nights and weekends, and that's how I would just pay for my student loans. That's all I did that work for. I worked 7 days a week, and that was just to pay off student loans and pay my bills. So it's not easy to build it up in the beginning. The fact that you have a steady gig with the VA is actually a very strong position because you have a fundamental gig that doesn't fight with private practice. Just like for me, I was working in rehabs, so my bosses in the rehabs never had a problem with me having a side hustle as a private practice because we didn't compete. They were inpatient programs and I was not. VA attendees are not going to be competing for you in your outpatient. So it's a good position for you to be in. But for me, eventually, I left my job at a rehab and I had to go all in on private practice. I really wanted to make it happen, and it was very, very scary. I mean, no therapist is walking around with a trust fund that they can just pay their bills for a year and give it a shot. So you really have to hit the ground running. You have to really know what you're doing. There's a lot of work you have to do in figuring out what your model's going to be. So for you, Vinny, you're talking about targeting veterans. I'll tell you right now, if you can get enrolled with TRICARE, that's the insurance of a lot of folks in the military. If you can get grants with the VA where they will cut you a grant to basically see a set number of veterans on their behalf, like some kind of adjacent program, that's your best bet for targeting that population. You're going to have to take that insurance, which can be a fine insurance to take, but it sometimes gets tricky. One of the complications of a lot of federal programs is that they do not recognize your license. So you're an LPC like me. A lot of times they don't recognize us. They don't recognize MFTs a lot of the time too. They only recognize social workers and psychologists because it takes an act of Congress to change some of their definitions, and Congress isn't fast on the jump on a lot of this stuff. So you might
Since when?
Yeah. I think of them as light speed old people.
Maybe that must be new.
So you might have to think about that. It all starts with your business
Was
model.
it Project Lightspeed? Wasn't that the
Warp
was it.
Speed? Yeah, that
Warp
was it.
Speed.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
vaccine.
yeah,
They
yeah.
did get that one right. They did fine with that. So start your journey with asking yourself, who is my target population? Again, if you're going to target veterans, your best bet is to start by going to the Department of Defense, going to the VA, looking up grants and programs that they're offering that target that, going to the state you're living in's social services programs. They're going to have money set aside for mental health for veterans. Figuring out how you can get into that from the position you're currently in could offer you a chance to create a private practice that already basically has the funding to serve that population, because you might not be able to count on that population to just have the discretionary income to pay for mental health care, which again goes back to the scandal of mental health. Go check it out. It's on Instagram. It's a deep dive. So worth checking out. So I'll give you a couple of tips from my private practice. But before I offer them, I just want to point out this might not replicate well for you. I don't know what will work for you. This worked in my area. It worked with, what I wanted to focus on. So I don't know how it'll be for you. So in Nevada, when I built my practice, basically I started by asking myself, what are the things that are not good in mental health in my city that I can answer? What are the problems that I think the average person looking for help is bumping into? And how can I make answers to that so that way they have a better experience with me? And in the end, I'm successful. Like, I do good work, people are happy with my work, and it's sustainable for me, and I can create a good caseload, and I can survive and pay my bills. So here's how I did it, Vinny. Basically, whenever I train my interns and teach them my model to join my practice, I teach them the 3 C's that are kind of my like map. So the first C is convenience. So for me, when a patient is ready for help, when they're hitting a hard time, they're like, man, I need to take the time to find a therapist. Taking even the journey into Google and searching is a big step. So you really want to be ready for them. You have to keep in mind they're not in a good place, they're stressed, they're emotional, things are not going well. Nobody goes to see a therapist because they're on a winning streak. So you really have to think the way they think and make sure that you're putting yourself in position to be as helpful as possible immediately. So things that I did initially, the first thing I did when I started my practice in 2018, I set my rates, my fees, a full 100% or 50% under my nearest competitors. So other doctoral level therapists, they were charging in my city 200, 250. I started my rates at 100 flat and basically said, I am here to work. I am here to help. I want to build a reputation, and I want people to like this work and get help now. And so it was always my intention to eventually raise my rates to a competitive level that was more sustainable. But, year after year, I just stayed really busy. The pandemic happened, so it didn't happen until more recently. But the very first thing you got to think about is a convenient price that's really refreshing, that just makes people ready to go, no excuses, get in here, get help. I created a system that allowed for people to make their own appointments, which was vital, Vinny, and I strongly encourage you to think about that. Most therapists in my city have a paywall, basically, that if you go to that therapist and you go, man, I like this therapist, let's go, you can't make an appointment. You can't get on their calendar and see what's available and grab a spot. You have to call a secretary or call the therapist and leave a message, or sometimes they have an online portal. You have to create a login and give them all this data and complete forms, and then they'll finally let you see their calendar, and it's all TBD anyway. And so basically you're just putting your name into a message box and asking for them to call you back. I hated that because my theory was a hurting person is ready for help right now. I don't want to dick around. I don't want to make them wait. I don't want their help to be dependent on my freedom to get to a phone and call them back. So I created a system that they could make their own appointments that also allowed me to move really quick because I made myself uber available, Vinny. So I was available 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Took one day off to sleep, and basically and I was always in the office. And so that made it possible for patients to make same-day appointments with me. Brand new patients had just get online that morning looking for help. I was available. I was an easy price. They were like, let's just go. And that allowed a lot of people to get to me quick and just let me help as many people as I could. I believe in simple websites. So my website is one page, very simple to read, not a lot of jibber jabber. If you go look at your competitors, they're going to have all this writing about what is, dyactic theory and what is transpersonal theory and all this gibberish that people are not there to do a book report on. They're hurting. They're looking for a professional. You don't need to prove to them that you went to college. Your degree does that. Just bring them in. And so very simple, very humanized. I believe in a tiny intake process. I do not like 25 pages being thrown at the patient. Now they got to tell me what color their grandfather's eyes were in order to make an appointment. That's dumb. So I use a very simple survey process. They can fill it out online. It's done in 3 minutes. I just need the vitals. I'll figure out the rest during my intake session with them. It's my job to ask those questions. They shouldn't have to write a book report to come see a therapist. Self-serve calendar is a big piece of it. My basic point here on the convenience part, hurting people shouldn't have to think very hard. So make it simple for them, and trust me, a lot of people will appreciate that so much. It's so refreshing that already they're like, all right, we're off to a good start. The second C that I teach all my interns, and I'd strongly encourage you to think about weaving into your principles for your practice, is confidence. And so what I mean by that is be competent at your job. Be really good at your job. Have ways to demonstrate to people that you're good at your job. Yes, your degrees matter. Yes, your licenses matter. Have valuable experiences in the community. Show people your resume. Put it up there. Say, look, this is my profession. I wanted to be really good at this. Here's the advanced training I've done. Here's things I've taught. Here's organizations that I lead. Here's things that I do to serve. Here's times that I've been recognized by others in my field or by leaders in the community. Let them know they can be confident in you, because that's a big thing. When they show up, they don't know you, and they're scared, and they're going through a lot. And seeing that you've really done this and that you're good at your job means a lot. Another way that we give people confidence is through customer service. Taking yourself seriously. That used to really bother me. Like, I'd go to other clinics and I'd visit other therapists, and, not to dig on them too hard here because I've really loosened up in this, but in the beginning, it used to horrify me that I'd walk in and I'd see, other therapists wearing shorts and t-shirts. And I just think to myself, you are a mental health clinician. These people are paying good money to come see you. This is a professional environment. Dress like you are worth a damn. That's a pet peeve of mine, but honestly, I think it matters. And so, presentation matters. On my website, there is a video. People can get a feel for who I am. I prove up front that I am the real deal. You've heard me talk about it on the show before, Vinny, but I'm going to say it again here. I hate woo. So my website, no woo, no junk about, all these extracurriculars here's how I do Reiki and here's spirituality stuff and here's all this yoga stuff. Look, those things are beautiful. They're really helpful. We need to be professionals. We need to be medical professionals. So I believe in no nonsense. Prove who you are. That's the confidence factor. That way people can see it and go, I'm in the right place. So the convenience thing, they get there and go, this is easy. I don't have to overthink. They get to the second piece. I feel confident. I found the right provider. Vinny's the real deal. Dr. Vinny knows what he's doing. And then the third C is connection. So I take a Rogerian person-centered approach. You've heard Nick and I talk about that. We've heard us talk about solution-focused. You've got to do your theories, Vinny. But I'll tell you, man, get really sharp on your Rogerian principles. Because at the end of the day, if you master the ability to be genuine and be authentic and show common humanity, these patients become so much more to you than just, the next client to walk through the door with a disorder. They really become your entire life. They become, in a sense, your friends and your family. And these are the people that you really care about and you want to be there for. And that connection is so real and so genuine. It's something that's so important to me in my practice. That rubs off. And that's the thing that has built up my reputation and allowed me to successfully practice in Las Vegas is basically people say, look, you got to go see Jim. And they'll go, I'm looking for a therapist. They tell their friends, they go, look, Jim's the real deal. Jim will take care of you. I consider him, a real human being. I think he's good at his job. But honestly, I trust him to be real with you. I think that's what you need, that genuineness and that authenticity that really matters, man. So that's the end of my very long-winded rant because I wanted to give him real feedback. But Vinny, listen, you're a hell of a clinician, man. We've met you. We've talked to you, okay? You have it. You have all the factors. You have all the ability. You could definitely do this for yourself. And I'll tell you the truth, and it's a sad thing. It goes back to my deep dive of what's broken about the mental health industry. The best therapists do not usually stay in the places that we most desperately need therapists. They don't usually stay at the VA. They don't usually stay in social services. To be frank, they don't often want to work for BetterHelp. They're really good at what they do, and so they desire to earn a living commensurate with their education and experience so that they can live okay. And they tend to try to get into private practice, and they tend to start costing more and more because they're worth it, to be honest. And so, Vinny, believe in yourself. You've worked hard on this doctorate. You have the skills. You have the ability. You have the credentials. You have, this passion for veterans. If that's the demographic you want to work with, find the way to finance it, which is probably going to be grants or the DOD or TRICARE, finding a way to be adjacent to that population so that it can finance itself. And then making sure you right-size your practice, man. It doesn't have to be this luxury bells and whistles model. That's never been my model. I practice via telehealth now, but I just believe in competence and certainty and just carrying yourself like a professional, which is ironic because on this show, it's dumbass Jim and his goofy doesn't know geography shit. But in my practice, it's my profession. I show up like a professional. I'm there to do the work. So I know that you'll bring that same kind of intensity, Vinny, but you will crush it. I believe in that.
By the way, I like your flip-flops.
Thank you. I wore these for you. They also have a bottle opener on the bottom.
Yeah.
I thought you guys would appreciate
So anyway,
that.
about professionalism.
It's an audio
It's
podcast,
very
Hinge, but I'm
important
fine.
to look professional. You came here from work.
Told you I work in telehealth. I don't need to wear shoes.
Anyway,
when I'm rocking.
I definitely agree with the convenience thing. A close friend of mine is in the process right now of trying to find a therapist. And it's frustrating because I'm in Nevada, he's in Iowa, and I'm trying to help and I'm trying to connect him, but I don't know anybody anymore
Right.
back in Iowa that does it. And so he's keeping me up to date on, I called so-and-so and I left a message. I'm waiting to hear back.
Yep.
It's been 2 days. So
Yep.
then I called so-and-so and still waiting to hear back from them too.
Yep.
And I'm like, and I'm just like, he's going to give up. He's just going to stop and he's going to be like, you know what? Fuck it. It's not worth it. I'll figure this out on my own. Which hopefully that doesn't happen. I think he finally got an appointment, but it's frustrating, you know? So if you can, I agree, Vinny. I mean, if you can set something up where you make accessing treatment with you so easy that people can't help but book it,
No excuses.
then that's going to be the best thing you could. That alone will set you apart from most therapists.
It's amazing to me how many therapists make it so difficult to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my mind. And that happened to me just recently. I have a family member called me, said, all right, you're my family member, you're a therapist, how do I do this? And it frustrates me that it takes more than one sentence for me to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because I go, well, go online and start searching. Then they come back to me, hey, I did. I left 5 different messages. I've called my insurance. Nobody's taken the insurance. Half of them say they're not on the panel anymore. So then I started thinking I'll just shop with cash. That's taking forever too. They're not calling me back. Some of them are saying they don't take. That's another thing that frustrates me. When our colleagues say not taking new patients, and Vinny, again, take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt because this may not work for you. I am the only therapist I know who runs my practice in this last particular way. I am always taking new patients. I designed my practice so that it is on demand. That online calendar allows people to come all the time. I work a lot because I like being available. It bothers me, the idea that somebody could go in there for an appointment and there not be any spots. People can get same week appointments with me. They can get next week appointments with me. I do not let my patients, my patients can say, hey, I want Wednesdays at 5. And I'll say, great. You can ask me to save that for you. I will be willing to do that. But I don't design my practice that way. I do not set your next appointment for you. You go to the website and you grab a spot when you want a spot. And if you need to reschedule, reschedule. You don't even talk to me. The robot will do it. If you need to cancel, do it. But what that allows is for me to always have openings. So I am always taking new patients all the time. And I'm meeting them when they want to. If they say, hey, listen, I don't know if I can come every single week, man. A, I can't afford that. Or B, I don't know where my commitment level's at. There's other therapists that'll go, then you're not ready for therapy. Or if you're taking insurance, you have to go, well, you know, your insurance is going to require that you're pretty routine with this. Because I've built my model how I have, I'm like, look, this is your journey, man. If you want to come in next week, come in. If you have a bad day, jump on my website and see if there's something tomorrow. I will bring you in. Like, we will figure this out. So I hate that there's delays in the system and that people don't have access to care. It bothers me. Or the only time they can get fast access to care is to go the biggest door route, which is like the big box BetterHelp stuff, which, if we're being frank, is not always where the best therapists are. So anyway, run with that, Vinny, but you're going to crush it. But if you're passionate about the VA, don't just try to open up a shop and just advertise that I'm here for veterans. You need to appreciate your demographic, the access to resources that they have, how they can finance healthcare, and the grants and the programs that already exist that could probably help you do that. So good luck on that, man. Great question. And thanks for including us in your research. And thank you for citing our 2 shows. We are now scholarly works, guys. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, Vinny.
Scholars.
I've always felt like I have been.
Yeah. You've always been in that ring anyway.
This is just affirmation.
Yeah, it's finally in writing. We're going to take a quick break. And when
Someone
we come
else
back,
is writing.
Somebody else is writing, which is the best kind. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how to discuss neurodivergence with your therapist. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, and Ben Stanley. If you would like to hear your name read during a commercial break, become a Theraproducer at patreon.com/therapy. We are on our 2nd week of trivia questions having to deal with NASA.
Yes!
So thank you for these trivia questions from ORB.
I'm super sad that I didn't get any last time. This is my jam.
Apparently it's not.
It's not. You're asking all the things I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I like NASA.
Where is NASA?
Hey, listeners, please write in questions that Jim knows.
Yeah, come on.
For the future. Thank you.
Dick move.
All right. This state is blessed with 3 NASA centers: Ames Research Center, Dryden Flight Research Center, and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Is it A, Maryland, B, California, C, Florida, D, Texas, or E, Iowa?
I know it, so I will be a gentleman and let Jacob go first.
All right. I've had correspondence with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Give me the 4 again.
What?
Maryland, California, Florida, Texas, and Iowa.
I mean, the Ames one
I know, right?
is just to
Right.
just to make me say Iowa. I don't think it's Iowa. I'm fairly sure that the Jet Propulsion Labs are not in Iowa.
Iowa
Because why would they be?
I mean,
We will send a man to the farm in this decade.
Although in the future, this is where space travel happens.
Oh, Captain Kirk comes from Iowa.
Riverside, Iowa.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm
So-
so proud of you for knowing that, by the way.
Of course.
As I really respect you for knowing that.
I mean, I
Great
feel
piece of
like
space trivia.
all Iowa would talk about
Yeah,
is that it has these bases.
yeah.
Yes.
It would been. This is Space Center
So
USA.
it's California, Texas, Maryland.
and Florida.
It's not Florida. Those aren't the bases in Texas. It's got to be California.
Okay.
It's got to be. Yeah.
I will second California.
It is California.
All right.
Way to go.
That's cool.
So Jacob gets to keep his PhD.
He
That's
gets to
right.
keep it.
All
I'm
right.
excited for when the federal lockdowns are done with like space museums and stuff like that, because I've always wanted to go to JET and do the tours and stuff. That would be so cool.
Tours?
Tours.
Yeah.
How to discuss neurodivergence with my therapist from Anonymous. Hi guys, I'm a longtime listener and love the human element y'all bring to speaking on mental health issues. As far as the question, I'm currently working with my therapist through my university's Counseling and Psychological Services Center on diagnosed anxiety and depression issues. In addition to working with a therapist, I'm currently working with a psychiatrist, and I'm on Prozac for depressive symptoms and propranolol as needed for physical symptoms of anxiety. I've been told by a prior therapist that I have since left due to insurance issues that I may be some version of neurodivergent, either autistic or ADHD, but no diagnosis or further details were rendered. I have done some online research and the topic yet still looking to bring this into my current mental health work, mainly for the reason that symptoms of executive dysfunction, etc., have affected my daily life, including affecting me taking my meds daily as needed. How would you suggest bringing this up with my current therapist/psychiatrist? I understand neurodivergency is slightly different than typical mental health issues/diagnoses, but I'd love any advice on the topic. Thanks again. My pronouns are she and her.
Okay.
Thank you for the pronouns.
Those always help.
I mean, I think there's not much to this. I think you just explain this in your next therapy session. Just say, hey, the last person I met with brought up these concerns. What are your thoughts? And then let them take it from there. That's probably my approach to that.
It is. Yeah. What's tricky, and I totally feel for you, Ryder. So first off, a couple of things. Excellent to hear that you're already doing the work, right? That you didn't let the insurance break interrupt your care indefinitely. You rolled with it. You got into care again. That you've found medicines that are treating symptoms. That you're doing a great job with those. That you got into counseling at your school counseling center, which is fantastic to hear. Just a lot of really great notes in there that I love. And in a second, I do want to comment on what those medicines are that you mentioned, because I think it's always an opportunity to teach on that. The thing about neurodivergence, which neurodivergence is still kind of a fresh term. It's capturing a lot right now. And so, it's being used, I think, a little bit more fluidly in the public. But when we talk about autism or we talk about ADHD, these are a little bit more hardware kind of symptoms versus software. And what I mean by that is they're sort of baked into who the human is. Now, the problem with these symptoms, both autism and ADHD, is they're essentially exaggerations of what you might consider typical human behavior. So, all the different ways that you would describe those two conditions, they are just exaggerated versions of normal things. So you might say like, all humans lose attention, but attention deficit disorder is constantly, it's now interfering with other things. So that's a problem. With autism, all humans are capable of being shy or aloof or disengaged or missing on social cues or some of the other things that are often associated with autism. But when is it autism? Well, when those symptoms are so exaggerated that they're now becoming, identifiably triggering of problems in life. So that's not to say you don't have those things, but it's to say it's okay that you look at them and think, golly, these are kind of vague. I'm not always sure if it's a slam dunk thing. Don't be afraid to bring it up with your provider. It's a very common thing. I have patients that ask me about it all the time. I'm very comfortable talking about it with them. Most therapists are going to hear that and say, great, tell me what you've noticed. Tell me what's going on. A lot of patients are frustrated to discover that there's not exactly a slam dunk test. There are some assessments that we can render. They're very short. They're not extremely conclusive, because even any other person could hear them and think, man, I could answer yes to a lot of these. So in order to render the diagnosis of ADHD or autism, usually we either need to do the written assessment plus a lot of interviewing and detail gathering. But most of the time, your regular outpatient psychotherapist like me or the one you're seeing is going to refer you to a psychologist if you really want a true deep dive assessment done, because that's what the majority of their training is in. That is kind of what they do. Most folks don't need a hard diagnosis of ADHD or autism in order to benefit from the treatments, the interventions. So I would encourage you to talk about it with your therapist, just bring it up. But I would also add, don't overthink too much this word diagnosis. And you've heard us talk about it on the show a lot before. We don't love name tag psychology, sticking things to your shirt. Sometimes people benefit from that because it gives them clarity and insight. It gives them a way to explain themselves in a way that feels authentic and good. But sometimes it's also a distraction, Anonymous. And I don't want you to overthink that, because at the end of the day, even if a psychologist holds up a magic wand and it illuminates some truth above your head, and they use a sorting hat from Harry Potter and it says, yup, this person is on the spectrum for autism and they also have ADHD, that doesn't mean that there's going to be a solution that comes with that. It's going to end up being the same things you're already working on in therapy. You're going to treat the symptoms of this more than the actual problem itself, because like I said, it's a hardware thing, not so much a software thing. So I think that that's going to be a big important thing too, is just right-sizing why you want the diagnosis and what to get from it. But don't be afraid to talk about it with your therapist. And glad to hear that you have a psychiatrist as well. Real quick side point, propranolol is a beta blocker. It's used for folks that have anxiety. It's kind of that mid-range anxiety treatment option. So instead of like an SSRI that you're taking every day and it doesn't kick in for like 2 to 3 weeks, you'll feel propranolol the same day. It'll usually last for like half the day. It brings you down a gear. It's kind of a sedative effect. It slows down the heart rate and just slows you down. So some people find that that's pretty helpful for anxiety, just kind of on an as-needed sort of basis. And then some people take it regularly just to kind of keep, their energy levels at a certain amount and kind of get ahead of anxiety. And then the Prozac is good for depression and also anxiety. I believe Prozac is an SSRI. So good treatment options, and glad to hear you have a good psychiatrist.
Definitely.
And congratulations on getting help, man, or miss, and keep writing in. So, and let us know what you decide to do and what happens with that. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, it's time for Inside Jokes Explained. Did I do it? I did it the right way? Come on, that's solid. That itself was an inside joke.
Today's episode is brought to you by Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Ben Stanley. Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Our second NASA question is, Virginia shares second place with 2 centers with this state. Which
Wait, what? Say that again?
Let me start over.
Yeah.
Virginia shares second place of 2 centers with this state, which is home to Glenn Research Center and Plum Brook Station. Is it New York? So they've got 2 NASA centers.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Wait, can you draw it on the whiteboard? Because I'm lost.
2 NASA centers, Glen Research Center, and Plum Brook Station? Is it New York, New Mexico, New Jersey, New Hampshire, or Ohio? If you'd like to become a therapy producer, go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up.
So which state has the other two kind of like sister campuses?
No, so Virginia has 2 centers, along with this other state that has 2 centers. So forget Virginia.
I see.
Forget Virginia.
So the only
It's
common thing here is that they have 2 centers for NASA in this state.
Glen Research Center and Plum Brook Station.
Those are the 2 that are in Virginia, or those are the 2 that are in the mystery state?
In this mystery state.
Okay. And the possible mystery states are?
New York, New Mexico, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Ohio.
I mean,
I don't know.
I think it's you throw a dart at it,
Yeah.
honestly.
You want to throw a dart first?
Yeah. All right, so I got New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire, or Ohio.
New York, New Mexico, New Jersey, New Hampshire, or New Ohio.
Old Ohio.
New Ohio. New Ohio, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'll go New Mexico because I just feel like South is going to be better on this.
All right.
It feels right. But then nothing's in New Mexico.
Not much.
Why would anything?
White Sands?
Yeah.
Huh.
New Mexico. I don't think New Mexico's a bad guess. I'll go northeast. I'll say Jersey.
Jersey?
I'm going Jersey.
Oh, boy.
It's Ohio.
It's
Really?
Ohio.
Yes.
The old state.
Ah, that's nice. I'm glad that Ohio gets something nice.
If we need a tiebreaker, this Wright brothers' home state has a whopping 0 NASA centers.
Oh, the Wright brothers.
Oh, that is.
Those are the guys that make the jam, right?
That's
Yes, correct.
it. That's it. We don't get choices on this one?
Nope.
Oh, God. Kitty Hawk.
It's on their license plate.
What?
Yeah. First,
South Carolina, final
first
answer.
in flight.
Wrong.
North Carolina, final answer. Shit! The word final answer can be used
Is
twice,
it North
right?
Carolina? It might be North Carolina.
It is North
I think,
Carolina.
Yeah.
Damn
Okay.
it! Damn it!
Jacob wins.
Damn you, South Carolina. The South did rise again. Shit! You stole my victory.
Rose to be wrong.
Shit! All right, fine. Thank you for the NASA questions.
Nice.
If
Who
you'd
sent
like
those
to-
in?
ORB.
ORB.
Nice.
If you'd like to send in trivia, just email it to us, PodTherapyGuys.
We've got one for next week, I saw.
Oh, cool.
Oh, good.
Send them in, PodTherapyGuys@gmail, and just make sure that you hide the answers at the bottom of the email. That way we don't accidentally find them or whatever.
If you hide the answers down at the bottom, if you make it where you have to scroll way down to see them, then Nick can play along as well.
Yeah.
I don't like playing along. I like sitting up here on my
On your throne.
my
Ivory
throne.
tower.
Your throne of lies.
Pat Sajak of the apocalypse.
All right, let's see if somebody wrote in a question that Nick and I can also answer. We have not had a lot of
Yes,
opinions on any
we
of the
have not.
questions so far today.
I know, right? Jesus. We're actually.
I hope somebody writes in with questions about their golf swing.
Yeah.
That's what I really
Seriously.
yeah.
Well, we need to get you guys in on this because
Speaker frequencies.
with the Patreon added in, by my math, we're at like, I don't know, an hour 20 right now. So we got a lot of show left.
So close. Hour 21.
Yeah, that's with Patreon. So we're
Oh,
at,
really?
Yeah, we're about 40 minutes left to fill. So I might actually get us to a 4th question today. We need to get you guys talking because there it is. Let's just do that.
Hey!
We're just burning through this stuff today. People are getting extra content.
Because you've talked a lot, it feels like we've been here for
Oh, I know.
It feels like we.
hours.
Oh, I know.
That first question, I was like, why are we spending an hour and a half on this
I
first
know,
question?
yeah. Yeah, that was 5 minutes.
It
Yeah,
was not
just
5 minutes.
uninterrupted Jim. It really was. I've been timing
Oh,
it.
it felt
is.
very long.
Oh, it's bad. No, I'm with you guys. We need to get you in. Oh, let's get you guys in on this one. Inside Jokes Explained by Edna. Hi, I'm not a patron, but I wanted to say I've loved listening to Pod Therapy and writing in questions. It's super fun, and you guys are terrible at geography, but make it up.
All
for
right,
how-
hold on. Hold on.
One of us is terrible at
Wait a
geography.
minute.
Two of us
No.
are mediocre
We're
at
all
geography.
garbage.
Yeah.
All of us. It's
Yeah,
the
no,
royal
no.
we. You guys, me, all of us. We're an average of bad, I think. I mean, I'm the
I
low end of
don't-
the handicap,
I don't think
but
so.
I think it's an average thing.
But
If you throw out the low and the high, then we're perfectly fine.
That's
Yeah.
probably We should see if we could join like a geography bee. That would be fun.
Why would we do that?
Because I just think that we could have a lot to learn. You guys are bad at geography, but make up for it by being great therapists and a life coach. I don't think anyone has mentioned it yet. The very reason I love the show, and that's when you answer a question, you don't look at it for face value. You guys try to see the meaning and deeper understanding of where the writer might have been coming from. I will admit, I've written in 3 letters, to keep you guys in business.
Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate that. I'm just that effed up, actually. Speaking of which, I've been listening for a while, but sometimes I still get confused. Like, what's with the dinosaur and scoop names? I'm assuming a theme or something, but then there's bats that get thrown into it. Oh well, I still tune in every week along with Healthy Gamer GG. Much appreciation for making mental health more understandable. Yours truly, Edna Delta.
Excellent. Well, thank you for writing in, Edna.
Here's where I think Edna is coming from with this question.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I think Edna is coming from a place of confidence.
Yes.
And being an attractive, intelligent person.
Yes. You're just right.
Answer the question below the question.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Get to the deeper.
I mean, part of that is easy to explain.
Meta-text.
The bat thing, Jim is half bat.
Yes.
That's the
important.
lower half. And, so that's the easy one.
Really short legs.
Yeah.
Like really E.T.-like.
Really good at finding things, though. Can echolocate things.
Yes. People don't give me enough credit for my hide and seek.
So that one's we got that one explained.
I love that we're not going to do this. We're just not going to answer this genuine question.
Well, I just answered one.
I love for like years we didn't even introduce Jacob, and then we started doing it by accident, and then we felt weird that we had done it because it was like I broke with tradition.
Yeah, I didn't like the
Why
rhythm.
are we so against informing our audience?
I didn't like the rhythm of introducing me.
Yeah.
I know you were like upset.
I was like, no, I don't like it.
There's no reason to ever do that again, guys. I'm fine with it.
It changes the rhythm of the beginning of the show. I don't like it.
That's cute that
You're
you
as
think
much
this has
a part
rhythm.
You're as much a part of the show as we are, and
I'm
yet
not
we
disagreeing
never
with
even
that.
like ever introduced you. Nobody fucking knows what's going on.
Mystery guest.
Just why do they think that podcast at the end of the show? Like, what's that all about?
It's all the podcast that we talked about earlier that Jim was talking about with Scoop Fest coming up in April.
That's right.
Scoopfest.com. It's all inside jokes from that. Not even really that inside jokes. Jim's mom is a bat is a recurring theme on both Ice Cream Social and to a lesser degree on Pod Therapy.
This is true. Even though we do have the superior merch that celebrates the idea.
Disagree, but that's fine.
Pistols at dawn, sir.
And then all the names are names of scoops. All the names are names of people who listen to Ice Cream Social.
I'm just realizing that none of these inside bits are ours.
No. We have been just grifting off of Ice Cream Social the entire time.
What
all of
inside
our-
bits
We
have
had
been
like
created
10
on here?
original episodes, and then we just
Nothing,
got in their
yeah.
wake.
The
Just living in
dinosaur.
their
Okay,
shadow.
we can claim.
What is the dinosaur thing? Oh,
the
that's us.
theropods.
Oh, that's us. Yeah. Oh, thank God. No, we got that from Paul. No,
Yeah,
wait, we
shit.
actually got that from, oh God, who gave that to us? Sarah something, which is, she's a scoop. And she's
God,
on
we don't
Twitter.
have anything original.
Not a thing. Yeah, not a thing. Even the Pod Therapy comic is Kate. Kate came from them. Everybody comes from them. Some have found us on Reddit, but all the baked in jokes. So, okay, originally, again, imitating their podcast, the Ice Cream Social podcast, we thought it'd be fun to name our fans. So they named they're an ice cream themed podcast. It's a fun time comedy podcast. So they said, oh, our fans are called Scoops. So everybody's name on Patreon or on Twitter or Facebook, they usually use the suffix or the prefix scoop somewhere in their name to identify as a fan of the show. Well, then our show comes on and we go, oh, we want to do that too. What kind of silly thing could we come up with? And it was Paul from Ice Cream Social, the Mattingly part of Ice Cream Social, who said, you guys should name them Therapals. Mm-hmm. And from that moment on, we realized you can use Thera as a prefix and then add other words. And then it was Sarah. God, it's going to drive me crazy. Her last name started with a B. Sarah, I'm sorry.
Boyle.
Boyle?
It was Sarah Boyle. Yes, it was Sarah Boyle on Twitter and responding to Paul saying that. And then she said, oh, yeah, and then theropods because that's a dinosaur, which I fell in love with instantly.
Great.
And then that became our Patreon. TheraPals are the $1 level. TheraPods are the $5 level.
You can meet Sarah Boyle at Scoop Fest.
Oh, is she
there we
coming?
go.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Sarah
gonna be
has a
great.
ticket to Scoop Fest.
Oh, fun. That'll be fantastic. Then, do you know who came up with pterodactyls?
Oh, who was that?
Jake Schneider.
Oh, was it?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And so we had put it up there, and we had said, "Hey guys," because we had come with TheraProducers just because it rolled off the tongue, and we didn't have any other cool prefixes.
Well, because the highest level was going to be our producers.
Yeah, we
They're
knew
gonna
that
be
they produce
of
the show. Yeah, they pay for the show. They make it possible. So we made it TheraProducers to keep the jingle thing going with Thera. And then we thought, well,
Then we
we have
needed an
a gap
intermittent-
between 5 and
yeah.
20, and for a long time there was no 10. And then
Yeah.
we were like, well, let's make a 10 because a lot of people just started giving more than 5.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of people that just self-anointed at the $10 level. And we felt bad that we didn't have a way to recognize that. So then we went to Patreon and said, what do you guys want to be called? And it was Jake Schneider. And he was like, it's obviously pterodactyls. And everybody was like, yeah, we're done. We're all done. That was it. And then Kate Keller drew us the pterodactyl
That's
design.
great.
It's one of my favorites.
It is.
It's a therapist.
That needs to be a T-shirt.
I
keep saying that.
know.
Why don't we have that as a T-shirt?
She's offered to send it to you. But that would
think
be
I
a
have it.
great one. Oh, do you have it?
Yeah, I'm just.
Oh,
You should
that
make it
up.
into a T-shirt.
I'm lazy.
You
I'm
are.
sorry.
That's my favorite. It's the pterodactyl has a degree behind him, and he's like sitting cross-legged in like his sweater vest.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so funny. So that is it. Yeah, that's the dinosaurs and the scoops.
There you go.
What other things were in the question?
Your Bat Mom.
My mom, yeah, which came
Is a
from
bat.
Ice Cream Social.
Yep.
That was that.
Jim's mom is a bat. It's
Yeah.
not really a joke.
It just is a
More
thing.
of an observation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at her and you're like, oh, she's a bat.
Inside jokes explained. So that's it. So for all of you who found our show in no way, shape, or form associated with Matt and Matting's Ice Cream Social, and you have not gone over to their side of the street to dabble in their catalog, that's all the jokes. Now the life coach jingle, that is 100% a Pod Therapy creation. And that was by Justin, who created all the jingles for Ice Cream Social.
Yeah.
So he created one just for us and has become a hit. That is,
Yeah.
it is easily the best jingle I've ever
I guess
heard in
me
my life.
being a life coach is probably the oldest recurring bit. That's a bit that we came up with here.
That bit got absorbed as like a fact, though. Like it's not even comedy anymore. Like the life coach jingle is, but he's basically life coaching, like the real version of it.
We don't talk about it enough. The reason that we said, "Oh, Jacob's a life coach," is because you don't have to have any qualifications
was
at
to
all to
shit on
call
life
yourself a
coaches.
life coach.
That was the joke, is Jacob didn't give a shit. He's just going to give his opinion anyway. And we're like, well, that's what a life coach does.
Yeah.
So we'll just give you a title, and then we were going to build a website and business card. You built business cards.
I
You
do.
put
I
them
have
sitting
business
on
cards
the
over
table.
here. They're sitting over
Yeah, he
here.
has his own business cards. It says, I'll call you.
By the way, when I explain this show to other people, and because like my friends or people who listen to Ice Cream Social or something like that,
Yeah.
might hear that I talk on this show, and they say, "What do you talk about?"
Yeah.
I say, "Well, we call me a life coach."
Yeah.
And then I explain that joke to them.
Okay.
When I explain it,
have
I'm
to
like,
unpack
no,
it.
no. Life coach means I don't know fuck all about fuck all.
They go, oh, wow, you're life coaching? No. It's we're taking a shot at the life
Yeah, yeah.
coaches, but I actually do contribute meaningfully.
I mean, yes, I life coach. You should think of that as a bad thing.
I'm a fully qualified life
Yeah,
coach.
I am as qualified as any life coach out there. Or at least I'm as qualified as any life coach needs to be.
That is probably the longest bit. I think that's
Yeah.
probably the longest running bit.
And that's from here.
That's got to be.
That's a Pod Therapy
That's a Pod
original.
Therapy originated bit, but that's probably the longest inside joke that we've had, in the sense that it's also never referenced and now just used as like a constant thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's so funny.
Inside joke explained.
Thank you.
There
I
we
was
go.
just aching for
There we
it.
go.
No.
I was just begging for that jingle.
Do you have those business cards?
Yeah,
Did
they're
I
right
give?
here.
Okay,
That's
did I
so
give you the whole
funny.
box?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I could not remember what happened to those.
Yeah, they're right here.
Right on.
Audio
very
guy life
solid.
coaching, listening for a living, just not to you. It's fine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And then on the back it says uncertified life coach, phone number, I'll call you. No refunds, results may vary.
Now, the it's fine thing, do you remember where that originated? This is fun, this memory
Well,
lane
it's-
thing that we're doing right now.
Because that's all
That's
he
just how I
says.
talk.
No, yes, that is also true. It was specifically a conversation we were having about movies. And he said, you know what? I said, what do you think about this movie or that? And he said it was fine. And like he just kept recurringly saying that, and I was like, okay. And he goes, look, I honestly don't really have strong opinions about stuff. I don't hate it. If I hated it, wasn't for me. So I usually don't shit on things. It's fine. And he said, ask me about any movie. And then I asked him, it's fine. And he kept doing that. And then Justin clipped that, and then he put it into the jingle. And that's when it became like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Or what? Is that how it starts?
He did. I added that.
Did you add that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I added it. I added the it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Just been life coach.
God damn
So
it.
I added,
so good.
I added the it's fine at the top, and I added the you have just been life coached with
the
all of the
outro.
reverb at the end.
Oh my God.
Justin did the song and had music beds at the top and bottom of it. So I filled those.
Good. God.
He even sounds like you in that.
Oh yeah. No.
The singing part.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Well, I love it too because like he really reaches for like that gravel sound in it. Like it's just like screaming. I'm your life coach, Jericho. I love that bit.
Plague Physicians on Spotify.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Check
Check
out
it out.
his band.
Yeah, he's actually
If you like
really
the jingle,
talented.
if you like the life coach jingle, Justin does really good stuff.
Yeah. He also does good music, not just music for podcasts.
He does music, not just jingles.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But he could have a strong career as a jingle writer. If we had to pay him royalties for every time we've used that, there would no longer be a show. So thank you, Justin. For recognize we weren't worth it. You'd have gotten all $20.
Yeah.
Shut down the mental health show. Thank you for supporting us. All right, so we do have time for a fourth question that's not so much inside joke related, so figure I may as well read it out.
Okay.
Next one up on the queue. This one's titled, Dad Ain't My Dad, from Ashley. Ooh, this one's interesting. Middle time listener, guys. First time questioner. I'll keep it brief. I know you answered a listener question regarding NPE, which is not parent expected before. It had to do with adoption stuff.
Okay.
And the answer you gave is what I expected. There does not seem to be a lot of therapy out there for people like me who wake up one day and find out they are not related to half of their family, with quotes. I also understand that these things take time and that people in your profession are always in continuing education. Can you share if this is a topic that is getting any traction? Because I could sure use some help. I'm 5 years into my journey. My mom is a narcissist. All clues point to yes on this, but there is obviously no diagnosis. My, quotes, dad is in the knack fog, as well as my brother, half-brother now.
Do I know what that means?
I think it means narcissist fog.
Okay.
Like you're affected by it? That's my guess.
Okay.
Or maybe he doesn't notice it in mom? Who
I think
knows?
so.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be oblivious.
Okay, great.
My family just absolutely sucks at this. And honestly, I've lost all contact with them. My fiance isn't particularly close with his family for a bunch of reasons. We are not planning on having kids, so the sense of family is weighing on me hard. I'm so sorry this was way longer than I meant it to be. Thanks, Ashley. So in this case, what Ashley's kind of describing, because she's referencing a question from the past, Ashley discovered later in life that her dad's not her dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so then is dealing with the aftermath of that and is talking about how therapists don't seem to be well equipped on this, and is kind of saying like, what's the deal with that in your industry as far as people learning about this? I'll tell you, I don't think I turned a page in any textbook in any part of my education that ever talked about adoption and the psychology of that. Did you?
No.
You wouldn't expect that, right?
Yeah.
That seems like something that
No,
would be covered pretty thoroughly.
Not only that, but I mean, I go to a lot of conferences, like multiple day conferences with stuff. And it's just not a topic that ever comes up.
Well, you worked at foster care. I mean, that's all about adoption and child, growing and raising in that kind of unique environment. I mean, did you guys do a lot of specific advanced training in that?
Not necessarily, because the organization that I worked for specialized in certain things like
not
child, child sexual abuse and stuff like that. So I mean, that was most of our training was kind of focusing on that.
Is that why it doesn't get brought up more often or doesn't get focused on more often? Because there are terrible things that have to be paid attention to first?
No, not necessarily.
No? Okay.
I don't think so, because I mean, a lot of kids are given up for adoption for multiple reasons.
Sure.
And it doesn't necessarily happen because of anything bad. But I don't know. I really don't have an answer for that. I don't know
One
why it
thing I've
doesn't ever come
learned,
up.
and I've learned this in part because of the folks that have written in about late, whatever it's called. There's a term for this, like late learning adoption or whatever it is. When you
Discovering
yeah,
discovering
that's
that
it.
you've been adopted, but you
Yeah.
discovered
And
it
we
late
had
in
people
life.
write in with, and I think that one time we had a question on this, and we gathered resources, and we said,
Yeah,
here's another
yeah.
therapist who's really good at this. Here's books, and then that person really valued that work and took it into, I guess there's like adoption Twitter, and then I started following them into adoption Twitter because they would tag us and into conversations because they'd say, hey, I listened to this podcast, it's actually pretty good. And this turned into a firefight where they actually got shit on by all the other people in adoption Twitter.
Yeah.
They were like, oh no, those guys are jackasses and they don't know dick. And this person was like trying to defend us. I was like, nah, don't fight that hard. Like, it's true. Like, they have a point. I'm kind of on their team. But I actually was reading
We know when
those
we're out of
threads.
our depth.
I know, yeah. And I was reading those threads, and one of the things that really blew my mind, and this is a good point, the arguments were like, look, we culturally all think it's the right thing to do to celebrate adoption because there's a kid that doesn't have a family and these adults that want a family, and we match made, and it's a little kid. But one of the things they talk about is there is no consent that's really happening here. And it is complicated. Like,
You mean
these
for the
kids-
for the child?
for the child.
Okay.
And like the kid is being put in a situation they never asked for. They need guardianship. We recognize that. But we're pairing them up permanently, kind of in this thing that was like an audition dating show kind of deal. And like there's not a lot of consent. And
I'm not criticizing here, but
Right.
I'm asking. Is this referring to this is saying basically like a baby is unable to give consent, and then it's the
it might
permanence
be all
that people
ages.
have problem.
It might be
have a
all
problem
ages.
with? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like you're a minor and you don't really have a vote.
Okay.
And so like whether you and so then it gets really complex, right? Like
Mhm.
you don't have a right to know. Like if you were too young to know, the parents have the right to just lie to you your whole life.
Okay.
And there's a lot of arguments in there like, hey, look, I should have some genetic rights, like to know my own biology, for health reasons, for a lot of reasons. And this concept of identity, do I not have a right to my own history and truth if that's part of my real identity, but it's being denied to me? You're not
Okay.
doing me a favor by lying to me. And then whenever if I find out, boy, that's hard to put me back together again after, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting discussion because in my mind, I read that and thought, what? Adoption's the happiest thing ever. Like it's a happy ending to a horrible story. Like it's a family now. It's great. But like a lot of these voices are like, look, you're not listening to the adoptee voices.
Yeah,
We have resentments. We have real feelings, and that needs to be listened to also. You can't just say all's well that ends well. We're humans and we have complex stories. And I thought, damn, like there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's always true as well. I mean, it's always, even if you say like on the whole adoption is a good thing,
Right.
like there's always going to be bad stories, and there's
Sure.
always going to be issues that are inherent in the system.
That's very true.
There's always going to be that. Now, it doesn't sound like Ashley was adopted.
I think so. I think what the impression I get from that letter is I've discovered my dad isn't my dad. She doesn't really tell us much of the history of that.
But mom is the
I think
biological
mom's the
mom.
Dad's not really the dad. And then discovered this later on in life and believes mom's a narcissist and there's a lot of brokenness. And now Ashley's looking for support on this and I think is really stunned to discover how little therapists know about it. Which,
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I can only validate that because I think there are therapists who do because it's their
The
that's their
specialization.
specialty.
But usually
right?
it's because they've come
But-
out of adoption themselves.
So, yeah, sometimes I mean it could just be a field that they find interested in. They're interested in, but I think they're very far and few between, or few and far between. Like it's hard to find somebody that specializes in that. I don't run across a whole lot of people that specialize in.
It's very rare.
Yeah,
It's very rare. I would love to do a deep dive with a guest.
we should find somebody
That would be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if there's anybody out there that, you come from adoption circles, either it affected your life directly as an adoptee or you're a parent who adopted or you're very familiar with some of this stuff or you're connected to somebody who is an influencer in that field and has thoughts, we'd like to learn from them. And just know this is a safe place. Like anytime a guest shows up to teach us about their truth and their story, we're not here to argue with them. Even if they're going to look at us and say, therapists like you have screwed me up really bad because you're shitty at your job. Yeah, I'll take my medicine. I'll definitely take that and learn from it. So that would be huge. It's a really good question, though. Wish I had the list of resources that we recommended in that episode.
I wish we had that episode. We could reference.
Man, we're really bad at this.
Jesus Christ.
We're not just bad at adoption. We're bad at therapy
suck.
and podcasting. All the things you thought we were going to do today. But we're not bad at NASA. I'm 1 for 2 on the NASA stuff. That's not too bad.
You're 1 for 4.
That, you know what? I'm bad at math, though.
God damn.
Just swinging. Just you hear that air I'm hitting? Not connecting with even one of these things. I don't remember what episode it was, but we had one that we gave a lot of good resources. And I think it was like books and like the primal wound.
Our
That was one of
episode
the
is
books.
number 171.
There it is.
Number 171, Adult ADHD EMDR Discovering Adoption.
There it is.
Oh.
And in that episode,
By the
I
way,
think
if you
in the
just
show
search for
notes-
things in your podcast app,
I'm
keywords
really-
like
he knows how
adoption.
to use the internet. That is really
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. It's not the
Look at
internet. It's my podcast
Yeah.
app.
And in our defense,
A
we
what?
didn't build the website either. Oh, that's just the podcast app?
Yes.
You can search in a podcast app?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just searching in the basic Apple podcast app.
Oh,
It's not
jeez.
even a fancy one.
Wait, you have that on your phone?
What?
Yes, I do.
Oh, my God.
I haven't subscribed to this show.
Let me
Never
flip
have.
open my
That's fair.
phone and see if I can do that.
Let me flip it. Get it off the
Well,
ringer.
let me put a quarter in.
Yeah. Also, since I referenced the website, thanks again, Manu, who built our website. That's also
Oh,
why
yeah,
we don't
yeah,
know how
yeah.
to use it, but
Yeah.
it exists.
But yeah,
Thank
so
you.
if somebody out there has a connection to someone who is an expert in adoption,
We'd love to meet 'em.
mental health subjects,
Tag 'em.
yeah, tag us and them on Twitter, and if nothing else, and it may be that there is nothing else, but Jim is really good at chasing people on Twitter.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my God, I'm so thirsty for interviews. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
if
message
you
people.
tag them and at PodTherapyGuys on Twitter, Jim will chase that person
Yes.
and
To the
and try to get
ground.
them on the show, either on
Yes.
Zoom or in the studio. And
They will
and we'll
be
dive
here.
into it because Ashley, we would love to. It's a subject that we would love to dive into it.
I'd love
I'm
to
certainly
learn
interested
about
in
it.
it. Yeah,
I'd
I'm
love to learn
I'm
about
just
it.
interested to hear about it and to know more about it.
I promise you they will either be on the show or there will be a restraining order. That is usually how it ends. So one or the other. We either learn something or, my lawyer gets some work. So
There you go.
great questions today, everybody. We want to remind you that if you want to support the show, come down to patreon.com/therapy. There's always additional content that we add, and so it's always a good time. Get to do the pre-show hang with us. We do deep dives and we add extra stuff as often as we can. But of course, all the folks that support us at Patreon, they ain't doing it for the goodies. They're doing it because they like mental health and they want us to exist anyway. And so they fund it.
And I'll say this. I just thought of this because we were talking about Scoop Fest earlier. Over at Ice Cream Social, we give discounts to our Patreons.
Ooh.
So if you are a Patreon of Ice Cream Social, then
Plug
you
it.
get a discount for your Scoop Fest tickets.
Where can they become a
I'll go
Patreon?
ahead and say, well, no, I'm gonna extend that and say that if you are a Patreon at Pod Therapy, you can get the same discount.
Nice.
So you can
Wait, Nick and I too?
No,
Oh,
No, we still have to
you're not a
pay.
Patreon.
We still
Full-
got to pay.
full
Yeah.
price.
Full price. Yeah.
That's fair. I'd charge us double, to be honest. I'll take full price if it's offered.
But if you are a Pod Therapy Patreon, I don't have it set up. So if you're a Pod Therapy Patreon and you hear this, you can just DM me on Twitter at Audio Guy Jacob, and I'll set up your discount.
Awesome.
So if you want to come,
Thanks,
if you're not an
man.
Ice Cream Social listener and you want to come check out Scoop Fest, just hit me up on Twitter. Just tell me that you are a Patreon here at Pod Therapy, and we'll hook you up with that little discount there.
Yep, or
and I think
message
it's
us.
I think it's like 10%.
Yeah, message
Right on.
if you don't use Twitter, message us right through Patreon.
Yeah.
Just message our account directly, and then we'll patch you through to Jacob, and we'll get to meet you in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that'll be
So,
great.
Late April, guys, scoopfest.com. Come hang out with the boys, and we'll get some sushi, and we'll do the damn thing.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
We'll do it Vegas style. So patreon.com/therapy. See, there's real world benefits to this. Yay. Can hang in there for a while. but
One, yeah.
Every once in a while you get a hit. So but we got some newbies, don't we, Nick?
We do. We got 2 new Therapals.
Oh, I can't wait to hear you say this name.
I'll do the first one. Graham. Oh,
Yes. Yeah, you should have picked the second name.
Hey, Graham.
You're just not even gonna try.
Hold on.
Nope.
Yeah, we
Oh.
were just getting shit today
Ooh,
on
boy.
Twitter for how we still
it's the
cannot
ending.
pronounce names. Graham Van Benthausen.
Oh,
Ben-
you know
Nailed it.
what?
Ben-
I'm gonna go with it.
Nailed it.
Benthusen.
Stick
Graham
with-
Van Benthusen.
that feels right.
Let me see it.
Van.
That is
Ben
Jones.
Su-
That is pronounced Jones.
It's
Ah,
V-A-N-B-A-N.
Oh, you're right, you're right.
All right, V-A-N-B-E-N-T-H-U-Y-S-E-N.
Thyssen.
The great thing is, if you
Brandon.
have a difficult to pronounce name,
Please.
you do get more attention at this
Please.
part of the show.
If you have a hard name and you're not paying money to make us read it, what are you doing? You're just wasting money. What are you going to do? Go buy ice cream with it? You should be buying this. Graham Van Benthuizen. That's how you get it. You gotta curl up your toes when you say Thuizen.
And thank you to our other Therapal. This one's easy to pronounce. Kiss Me Where It Smells Funny.
Also, if you didn't know this, you can name yourself whatever you want on Patreon. So when you subscribe to any show,
We
name
won't
yourself
stop you.
whatever you want.
Yep.
Apparently, you can name yourself sentences. And we have a new Therapod. How do you say this?
Lila.
Is it Lila? I think it's Lila.
Layla.
I think it would be Lila if there was two L's together.
Lila.
L-I-L-L-A. But it's
Okay.
L-I-L-A. So I'm going to say Lila.
Not Lila.
I'm going to say Lila.
Huh. Okay.
Let us know.
Yeah. In fact,
It won't matter.
Yeah.
But let us know.
well, yeah, others have let us know. Hadn't helped them. I feel okay. So Ulrika and Manu are shitting on us again on Twitter, and they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, Jim's really bad at this." Okay, first off, I guess Ulrika was super psyched because on Twitter she's like, "I called some office and they said my name on the first try, and then they admitted that they looked it up so that they could be ready for my call." And she's like all happy about it, and she tagged me and she's like, "See, Jim, that's how it's done." And I was like, fuck you. I earned it, okay? I ground it out through thousands of tries and through natural evolution eventually got it. That's a win.
Did you?
That's real effort, okay? Anybody could look it up, Ulrika. I went there. I worked it wrong over and over and over until finally I got it. I think it was YouTube that ended up teaching me how to say it, though.
Yeah, I think you're still saying it wrong. But
I got Manu right? Didn't we? Manuela Muzakiu. That's how you do that. I remember because she literally sent a video of her saying it.
yeah.
I have very good
we got
auditory
that one.
memory. So I'm just defending myself because both these women are like, no, I'm bad at geography, not name pronunciation. Okay?
Oh,
Demonstrated that. Calm
Calm
down there, McWaffle. Calm
that's
down.
a bold
Okay?
statement.
There's dirt on both our resumes.
Okay.
All right? Take a deep breath.
Fair.
You're living in a glass house. You should put down that rock. People change their names on our Patreon because you can't say them. And we want to thank our bosses, the Saccharine 16, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club. By the way, the Saccharine 16 thing is bullshit. I started leaving it out because it's wrongly convincing people that there's only 16. There's as many as there wants to be. So, the Theraproducers, thank you. Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Kayla Lansbury, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, King of Student Loan Debt, Dr. Ben Dawn, Crazy Banana Scoop, Mason Miller, Carolyn Albert, Leon Kassab, Kevin Chamberlain, Malia, Richard Macy, Cindy Ash, Newstick, First of Name, Breather of Fire, Dumb of Ass, Lord Colin Stewart, Dirty B, Ben Stanley, Sammy Scoop, and Sarah Smith.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to Patreon. What side projects do we have going?
Shut up. We used to have
Go to
things.
patreon.com/therapy and thank you for supporting mental health.
That's
in
all
the
the time.
script.
It's in the script. You read what I wrote. God damn it. You have one job. That's all the time we got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. Go to scoopfest.com. Come hang out with us in April in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Bring your friends. We'll all get some sushi. We'll get a beer. We'll hang out. We're going to watch some great stuff, some live entertainment. You can come find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter at PodTherapyGuys, at patreon.com/therapy, and at Instagram at PodTherapyGuys2.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Jim Jobin.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Bing, bing, bing. Dun-na-nut, dun-na-nut.
Sued.